All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Cards and Coffee. Joining me today is RMS Collects. Ryan, how's it going for you today, man?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Appreciate you letting me hop on with you.
Yeah, man. I obviously we have a mutual friend in common, Manu, and obviously I've been following you on IG for a minute, and you're obviously a Spider-Man Venom guy, same as Manu, so I could see why you guys are good friends there. How'd you get started with collecting, man, in general?
I've been collecting for since I was 6, 7 years old. Collecting anything from Jurassic Park stuff, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then obviously trading cards and stuff. So and then comics, Legos. I've been collecting ever since I can remember.
And currently, to your point on you do different mediums. Do you prefer one specifically, or like does your attention go to different collectibles at different times, points in time? Meaning, like right now, it's obviously mainly Marvel cards for you, but are you still like actively doing the Lego stuff and the comic stuff?
Yeah, I'd say cards predominantly. Like when I want to do searches and stuff on eBay or anything like that, or if I'm looking for something, it's predominantly cards. Cards to me is like the most dominant part of like what I'm collecting, but comics is like very close behind.
Okay, gotcha.
Legos, so I usually do it with my son and stuff. I don't do, I kind of quit that for myself because I can't do three different hobbies. So I chose cards and comics. But yeah, if I wanted to like say dominantly, whatever I search on eBay, the first thing I go to is usually trading cards.
Gotcha. And I think we share this in common, but when it comes to comics and cards, what do you mainly like about cards over comics in general? Besides like the obvious part, which is like, storage, it's easier to store them, right? Like with comics, it's as I could tell, you have a lot of them displayed, but then you have to deal with like dust, right?
Yeah, you gotta dust them off.
Yeah. What other points do you like? Like again, like cards over comics. What do you enjoy about them?
I like that you could easily just grab them, in your hand and just be able to look at them and stuff. I feel like with comics, I have to really like take it out of its bag and then really sit down and have the time to engage. I think cards are a quicker engagement compared to comics. Comic books, I need more time. And sometimes I don't have that much time to really engage in the book. So like usually when it's late at night, kids are going to bed, I could sit there and just open up my book at my desk and really take the time. But like if I'm running out of time or I want to quick just look at my cards, it's very easy to pull out your cards, and take a look at them and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to discuss with you, because I know you grade yourself. I've seen obviously in your IG, you've been going hard on those Venom Prism keepsake cards, right? How do you feel about like the difference between on the comic side, obviously, and I had this conversation with Manu, but I haven't had it on camera, which is like cleaning and pressing versus cleaning and doing whatever you could do with cards. How do you feel about that? Like, because there's in the hobby, there's mixed reviews on that. Some people are okay with it. Like I was talking to Michael from Cool Card Life. He's okay with like fixing a corner. But there's other stuff that people are doing. Some people are even cutting cards, that's where I personally draw the line. But how do you feel about it?
Well, yeah, I've cut uncut sheets and graded them. That's okay. But no, I don't. I feel like cutting the card, it's like whatever, don't differ from what's manufactured, right? But if the card gets damaged in packs and stuff.
I think you're cutting off.
Oh,
just cut off there.
Now? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like if a card's damaged from the pack or anything like that, you open it up and the corner's a little soft or something, or has a little crease in it. I feel like, as long as you're not adding chemicals and weird stuff to the card, why not?
Yeah, you're cutting off a little bit again towards the end, but I got the gist of it.
Yeah, the reason. Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because, for example, right, like you, one of the nice reels you did recently or a video was when you had that Eminem Abracadabra song and you were like showing the upgrades to the cards. As it is dope for content, I'll be 100% honest with you, right? Like I would find it hard to buy a 10 if I knew previously that was a 6.
Right.
Mentally, I can't bridge that gap. So I don't understand how someone would be like, oh, I see that's a 6. He turned it into a 10. My mind would be like, what went into that made it jump 4 grades?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'd be the same way too, but you know, I like to experiment with stuff with cards
mhm,
that is not me adding any type of chemicals or anything like that to them. But you know, I clean and press comic books.
mhm.
So I decided to apply the same type of techniques to cards.
Gotcha. Okay. And obviously, like each card has its own challenges, right? Like for some cards, it's mainly surface issues. If it's like like a shiny card, and then
Yeah.
like you mentioned, there's some cards where it's just like a soft corner. I'm cool with that. I personally, again, like I think the corner is probably like the easiest one for me to like, the easiest pill to swallow per se. But again, just like it's just something when I noticed that I was like, man, that's dope that you got those. Like, no, I'm not hating. I'm just saying again, as like the buyer, I'd be like, well, what happened that it was a 6 to begin with? Because you see this more often in Pokemon. I think it's more accepted in even sports, where
Yeah.
I do see a lot of the time where they got like a PSA 8 to get bumped to a 9, or maybe a 9 got bumped to a 10. But I have never personally seen that where like you got a 6 to a 10. I was like, whoa, that's crazy, And even shout out to my boy Brian, Marvel Cards Up, man. He was like, "Hey, I want to sign up for your master class, Ryan. What's going on with it?" Like, you know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
can't.
So,
I promised I would not say secrets and stuff, but I'm not using any foreign things. I'm really just looking at the card, examining it, and deciding how am I going to get this thing out. So I'll just give you an example. That 6,
mhm.
that card was a 6. I didn't grade that card. I bought that card for like
Oh, okay.
$40 as a
Mhm.
PSA 6. I examined it. The front was clean. The back though had like a little crease on the back of it. So I
Oh,
decided to uh heat press that thing. And I didn't
gotcha.
heat I heat pressed it till it was pretty much gone. So
That
you
makes
look
sense.
at the card and it's like it's almost pretty much disappeared. So that's why I got the 10, because
Yeah.
whatever damage it had, I was able to get rid of it. So I'm totally fine with that, like doing those type of things. But it's not like you can just put in the presser for one time and then all of a sudden it comes out perfect. No, it's patience. I've taken patience with these
Mhm.
cards, and that one obviously paid off. I actually was shocked that I got the 10 because I thought I would at least get maybe an 8 or a 9 on that card, but
Mhm.
they got
Yeah.
a 10.
No, congrats on that, man. Yeah, and shout out to Henry Pablo because I had a conversation with him, and I heard that you guys did a trade recently, and he acquired one of those 10s. So
Yeah, I got
congrats to him. Yeah, that's dope. Hey, to switch it up on you too, going back to the comic side of it, how long have you been pressing and cleaning for on the comic side?
uh, I would say maybe about probably over a year. Probably about over a year, because I think I
And
started early last year and like actually doing it myself instead of, because I was sending my books to CGC and they were doing it, but I didn't notice that much improvement from what they were doing.
mm,
So I was like, I don't want to hand it to somebody else. They touch my book and then it gets graded, but I'm depending on somebody else. I want to depend on me, myself, and that's it. If I can
yeah.
get it myself, great. So I learned how to do it.
That's a good point. Is it where? Because the reason I ask you, because I've been tempted to start doing it for my own books as well. But like, were you nervous? What like were you starting with like modern books and maybe not so much your PC, but like books that you didn't really care too much when you were experimenting, or right off rip you started just with your own PC books?
So I always had like some low grade ASMs that I was like, I think my first book I pressed was an ASM 301, and it was just very low grade. And I wanted to see what kind of improvements I can do on a low grade book. And there was some creases and stuff on it. I was like, if I can get this out, let me try this book out first, because this one had a lot of stuff going on it. So I tried that out, tested out different techniques and stuff. And then, I pretty much learned from there. And then I got into intermediate type stuff, which is using tack irons and you're in the ball bearings and stuff. And now I kind of like perfected a system that I have now where I'm like, this is the best I can make this book, right?
Hmm.
And I do it in a pretty efficient way where I'm not, it'll take a couple days to get the book where I want it to be, but I'm not putting it in like these chambers. I'm not whitening books. I'm not doing that because I mostly stick with Copper Age, or then some of the modern
Ah,
that I like. So I don't go too far back.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next. Exactly. Like I, I would get nervous personally around like starting at Silver Age, right? Like let alone Golden Age. Like, do
Yeah.
you feel like that's a different level? Is just someone that's more experienced, or is it just something that is just for whatever reason they're just not in your PC? You mainly stick to, like you mentioned, more modern books.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly stick, like I said, to Copper Age. I mean, I have some silvers that I worked on, but you know, a lot of the time, some of those books are very brittle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the paper's super thin.
Yeah, I remember like even like I did my first press on like a Maxim Carnage, the Clay Maxim Carnage book, and that thing was fragile. I mean, I thought I was going to rip the spine on that thing, but you know, I was very careful with that. But you know, it's just learning. Practice makes perfect, and like I feel like I said, I think I did early this year. I probably pressed about 40 plus books to get them kind of ready for grading and stuff, and then obviously the CGC scandal stuff happened, and I said, I'm not sending my books right now. So I had like 40 books that were just sitting there ready to go, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hold off. But yeah, it's just practice. You get in the routine, and then you look at the books. And a lot of books I try to buy, you know, close to near mint as possible, so I don't have to do
That
a
much
huge
work.
amount of work. So
Yeah, yeah. And shout out to your. That's an ASM 50 behind you, right? Like that's Silver Age, I
yeah,
believe, right? Yeah, that's
yeah,
a dope one, man.
yeah. I got a 50 and a 46 back there.
Nice. Yeah, that's one of my favorite covers. I'm not a huge Spider-Man guy, but there is some covers that I do appreciate, and that's one of them for sure.
Oh
I've
yeah.
been looking for that cover in the La Prensa Mexican edition, and
Okay.
I've seen a couple copies, but they're usually like 2 O's, 3 O's, 3
Yeah.
fives. You know,
Yeah.
I would like at least like a 4.5, 5.0. Especially because on the foreign side, they're not as expensive as the American counterpart. Like
Right.
obviously a 5.60 is pretty expensive, even US version. So
It is. Yeah, I wanted a 5.0 for a 50. I wanted it like that, but this 4.5 came up at a good price. And I'm a sucker for the label. It has a Spider-Man label on it with New York. And I kind of like I've decided I'm like, well, if I get any Silver Age Spideys, like Ramita Spideys, and I think I'm gonna get all of them in that label. I want them all to have like that exact same label for all those books in my collection now. So
that'd be
yeah.
dope for uniformity.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, another thing I wanted to run by you is, did you happen to also run into the issue with the the boards for mylights, where they used to be a lot thicker, right? And they were like white on both sides, and now they're like a lot thinner, and they have
Yeah,
like
they
the
were
hard.
fullbacks. Yeah, yeah. So the fullback ones they got thinner, but I just put two in. You know, it's not.
Yeah, that's a good way to
I
solve
just
it.
put
Yeah.
I was just stacking my. I'll put two in there, but it depends on the book. Sometimes you don't need two in there because the fullbacks they're still thick ones. They're thicker than the standard ones that you would get from like BCW or something, but they're still you could put two in there for bigger books.
Yeah, I was having that conversation with Gilman Manoon. He was telling me that like he's been trying to get a hold of more, and he can't get a hold of any anymore. And I'm like, man, those are little things where you don't never understand why companies make those kind of changes, especially when they had a good reception from their customers. Like, doesn't
They're
make
probably
sense.
cutting
But
costs. Maybe something like
yeah,
that. They're probably cutting some costs.
yeah, and to your point, like going back to the pressing, like I would like to learn just not even to grade them. I mean, eventually, most people know. Like I just did my first submission with PSA after like 3 years of collecting. Like
Yeah.
I'm not in a rush to grade my comics, but the reason I would like to press and clean them myself at one point is just because they present better in the Mylars. Like
Right. And don't you
yeah,
want to improve the look of your book? Like if you pick up your book and you want to be like, look at it in the Mylar and be like, wow, it looks so good now.
it
Like you don't
does.
want to look at it and you see like the creases and all the spine ticks and stuff. You can
Yeah,
actually improve just the quality look of your book if it's just going in the PC. So
yeah,
yeah, I press my books just to make it look better. And
yeah.
I'm not going to grade it, but I want it to look, I want to
To
improve
present
the
well.
yeah.
Yeah, me too, man. And I'll be honest, like that's another thing going to the difference with the cards in the comics. Like I find myself, I only have a few slabs, maybe like 10 or a dozen max on the comic side, and they're dope to look at. They're even doper to display, like yourself. But as far as like more like holding them in hand, it's more intimate when they're in a mylar. So I feel like I appreciate them more when I know that at least it's an option also that I could take them out if I want to.
Yeah.
right? Versus like when they're slapped up, unless you have a reader's copy, that's pretty much it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I probably have what, like maybe 15 slabs, like the ones back here, and then I have another row on the other side of my office and stuff. So I don't have that many slabs. And if I do ever grade again, I normally it's just for sale. You know,
Gotcha.
I'm gonna just try to sell the book. But right now I'm like on a hunt for I'm doing card grading. Most of my grading right now, I'm on like I'm hyper focused on the card stuff because there's some cards that I really want to gem. And I'm not veering away from that. I put the books off to the side. I'm still buying books, but I'm not going to be grading stuff right now with books. I'm just going to do my card stuff and and try to accomplish some collection goals.
And how do you go about that? Getting into the goals that you have. Are you from the same? Do you share that same mindset with Manu? Because I'm a little bit different. I have been trying to adopt his mindset, which is that he wants to 9A something on the comic side, and then when he finally does, he doesn't mind selling it. Like, how do you approach that? Like you mentioned, you want to gem some cards. In the Prism case, obviously you had 2 10s. I'm assuming you kept one for yourself, or are you okay with just letting them?
I gemmed that 3 times. I gemmed that card 3
nice.
times.
My bad. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, but I haven't set my best copy though.
Okay.
I have the perfect copy, but I'm holding on to it. I don't want to put another. I don't want to put a 4 on the population right now, but I'm just going to wait on that one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it honestly it depends on the card. So like if I see there's tons of value in there, so let's just say I'll give you an example. I gemmed what's it called? The 1994 Power Blast Gold Carnage, and that was like a pop. I think it was a pop 4, and I sold it. I sold it for like $200, and I'm like, well, I could take that $200 and do some other stuff, and just use that, like go grab some loose packs and try to gem some other cards. So like I'm on it for my PC, but like I could do that again. To me, in my mind, it's like if it's a really hard card that I can't, that took me a while to gem. I have some of those, and I'm keeping them. They're mine. It took me a while. I don't see the population going up, and if I do, so now I move on to the next thing. But if it's something I know I can keep doing over and over again, I'm like, yeah, I'll sell it because I know I'm going to gem it again. If I have another backup card that I'm gonna send in. So like, yeah, for me, I'm okay with letting things go. But there's some that I'm like, it took me a while. That's staying.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's more about how easy you could replace it, is what you're referring to, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that. And the reason I bring that up again is because, with inserts and with base cards, that makes sense. But once you start getting into like numbered cards, right? Like I'm assuming that's something where you start double thinking, like, oh, should I sell this or should I keep it? Like I was in that position recently with the 2015 Fleer Venom that I gemmed. Like I had 5 copies of that card raw. They were just hard to locate raw, to be honest with you, to begin with. So, so now like I gemmed 1. I have 2 9s. I recently sold off a 9. I try to hook up my boy Manu. He passed. So guess what? That 10's no longer available. You know what I mean? Like now that I moved the 9, we had a, I'm just giving shit to Manu. But yeah, so now
that's what he does. I try to sell him shit all the time. And he's like, nah, he plays it off. I know he wants to. He'll play it off, and he'll be like, and then all of a sudden he'll bring it up out of nowhere and be like, hey, how about we do this? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he hit me with I'm not in a he's a wordsmith, that guy, as you know. So he was like, I'm not in a buying, what do you say? Like in an impulse buy. I'm not impulse buying today. I was like, oh really? Because you told me about this card like 6 months ago. It ain't an impulse buy. But I love how you twisted it that way. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, hey, no worries. Hey, and the price I was hooking him up for was the homie price. Yeah. He thought that was high. I'm like, hey, after the 9 went up, hey, that was yesterday's price. That 10 went up.
He thinks any price is high. Manu has prices, and he's like, that's his price on every card. So
no, his buying prices are high or low, but his selling prices, on the other hand, you know what I mean? Like he's a hilarious guy. What was I gonna say? Moving into the card goals that you have, are you mainly focusing on Venom cards? Or are you still going after some Spider-Man cards? And what other characters do you go for? Because that's like predominantly what I see from you, at least when I check out your IG, is like Venom, Spider-Man. Do you have any other
Yeah.
characters that you enjoy?
So I mean, Venom's obviously. I think Venom's probably my number one, and then I actually like Black Suit Spider-Man, but I like
Oh,
Spider-Man too. I like Black Suit is definitely like. I mean, hand in hand, it's that one, and then probably Spider-Man, and then Carnage. You know, the symbiote. I'm just a huge fan of that when I was a kid. But I love X-Men. I mean, I have an X-Men shirt on. I mean, I love X-Men. Wolverine.
yeah,
I named my son Logan. Like I literally named my son after Wolverine.
that's dope.
Yeah, that Wolverine was my childhood. He was my childhood, like, character that I collected. And then I also liked Venom, but now obviously as an adult, I'm more prone to, leaning towards Venom. But yeah, Wolverine, I guess it just depends, but those are usually my dominant ones. I mean, there's a character that I like. I like Magneto. Magneto's dope too. It would probably have to be some of the X-Men usually.
Nice.
Yeah.
And going into the black suit, one card that I only own one copy of, I wanted to send it off to get graded. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm assuming minimum a 9. But, if they're lenient and someone came in a good mood, I might gem it. I don't know. It's the 2007 San Diego Comic-Con from Marvel Masterpieces. Are you familiar with that one by Kincaid, the artist?
2007 SDCC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll show it to you. I have it. Again, it's not graded yet. It's raw, but it's one of my favorite black suits.
Oh yeah, that's dope. Yeah.
This is another one where I've tried to get another copy. Shout out to Swami. I hit up Swami, and apparently other people have been hitting up Swami for that card because he's been slowly getting out of Marvel.
He's had some good black suit cards. I think I bought a few off of him.
Yeah, but this is one that I wanted a second copy. Like a lot of the times, my approach to stuff is I want 3, minimum 3. Yeah. Only because I don't, when I come to that cross section where I have to sell something, and I want to make sure that I still have my PC copy. Going back to
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I just got this. Just came in today, and I like to do some different grading companies, but like I got 2 of these.
Oh, that's dope.
One is a BS and then a PSA 10. So like sometimes you'll do something like this, but I'm actually using it to compare.
Yeah.
We're comparing the BGS to the PSA 10, but
and how do you look? And we got into this. We haven't released this episode. I just recorded over the weekend with the homie Doom and Sergio, and we just got into it like with the whole PSA and Beckett thing, right? Yeah. And people need to start putting more respect on the Beckett. I understand that the market value isn't there totally, but as far as just looks, and I do feel like with very specific cards, just look a lot better with Beckett. Like, has that been your experience, or do you feel like you prefer PSA in general, just aesthetically, value aside?
I like the feel of PSA. It's very simple, simplistic and stuff, and it's just a kind of a uniform type of look. And it just like I've been grading with PSA since last 5 years. I've been doing it for a while. I've had a good relationship with them, even though there's times where I get back grades and I'm like, I don't agree with that at all. And I just. That's why I sometimes call PSA, please submit again, because sometimes you have to submit multiple.
That's a good one.
That's
a first. I've never heard that. Nice.
Yeah.
Submit again.
Yeah, I stole that off somebody though, so I can't claim it.
Hey, well, I heard it from you, so I can't give the other guy credit. But shout out to whoever he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was on eBay. Some guy was selling cards, and he actually had his own grading company that says, please submit again. I'm like, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, that's true though.
Yeah, no, it is for that. But, I think it's all about preference, and I've had good experience with PSA. I've made a lot of money grading with PSA. I've also spent a lot of money grading with PSA. But I've graded with all the companies. Beckett, I've graded with CGC, I've graded with SGC. And, it really depends. If you're looking at aesthetics and stuff for your card, I guess you really can just put your card in a card saver and then just grab one of the slabs and just kind of put it over it. And then you can kind of tell like what is going to look good. If you're PC in the card, so be it. Pick out whatever you want that's going to look good. But if you're going for value, PSA is the driving market value. And it's just, there's nothing you can do about that right now unless it does change. But dude, Beckett just keeps falling over themselves. It's You know, with the last couple of years since I've been following all the hobbies, you know, sports cards and everything, you know, they've had change in leadership like 8 times. You know, they put out grades that they wanted to a different grading standards, and then they freaking backtrack that thing. They had a new label, they backtrack that thing. It's like just, you know, it's consistency, and PSA has always kind of been that, you know, consistent grader or grading company in the market right now. So
yeah, and to your point, I will, you know, I do hand it to PSA, especially as of recently. I happen to be lucky that my first submission was when they just upgraded their slab, right?
yeah.
Like I noticed that the new slab compared to like I had two, for example, of that gold surfer, the gold border, and on the old slab it weighs 44 grams.
Yeah.
On the new slab it weighs 57 grams. And then I
Oh, yeah.
also noticed a difference in how HD their slab is now. Like that was one of the main factors for a lot of people sending off to CGC. If you remember, was like, oh, the slab is so clear, you could see it better. Well, like PSA is catching up to that. And going back to the whole Beckett thing, I just feel like for Beckett, you know, I think that the owner is just resting on their laurels. I feel like they're happy where they're at and with their share of their marketplace, even though it's slowly been declining, most likely.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure he made his money, you know, 10 times over because he's been in the business for so long. But again, I'm in the same boat where I just wish that they had someone in there that, you know, wanted to improve things and in a good way. You know, I don't think that necessarily has to be a label change by any means. Maybe
no,
upgrade.
I don't think you would do that. I like their labels. I'm fine
Me
with
too.
them.
Yeah.
They just need to get on track with like keeping up with everyone, like get an app and stuff. Like I'll just give you an example. Look at SGC. The what's the CO? His name's Peter. That dude's like in everything. He's at all the shows. He's doing all the things on the marketing, social media, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he completely changed them since the pandemic and stuff. I watched that company transform. And then what happened? PSA or Collectors Universe, they purchased them. And it's like they purchased them because they knew that they had some value there. It's like, ain't no one going to purchase Beckett. And well, first of all, Beckett probably will not sell. So it's like, you know, they needed somebody like that. I know they probably have. I'm trying to think who they hired, but they have like now they have, I think, somebody young in that position now as a leader in the company. But we'll see. They just need to spread out like I said, some of the SGC was doing, you know, and just, you know, get the reputation back on track. Because if you think about it, a lot of the top sales for Marvel cards, I'm talking about in history, all of them are Beckett. They're all high-end PMGs graded at BGS. Almost all of them. All the highest sales ever were all in Beckett. Most of them were in Beckett slabs.
Yeah. I love Beckett, man. Again, I think if they could just improve on the slab as far as same thing, I think what hurts them when you look at them is, it's like the double-edged sword, that inner sleeve that they use. On the one hand, I do feel comfortable knowing that if I ever want to crack the slab, I'm most likely not going to damage my card unless I do something stupid to it, right? But on the other hand, it also makes it harder to see through the slab. It's not as clear.
It is. It's cloudy. Yeah, it is. I have both of them. Is that one a new one? Let me see. No, it's not. But yeah, it is cloudy. I can take it out of the sleeve, and it's freaking. I mean, you can tell when I put it up. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, hold on. Let me make it bigger. 1 second, just so I could see it. Let me do a solo layout. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah.
But yeah, PSA changing, you know, doing some improvements to their holder. It's been great. I have a couple of them too that came back, and I could tell a difference. You know, the weight. It's a lot more crystal clear and stuff where the card is. And guess what? Your card doesn't move.
Yeah.
It doesn't move around anymore. And I was shocked.
Doesn't rattle?
No, it doesn't move around. It doesn't rattle anymore. And that was a big complaint. It's like a lot of people like Beckett because their card ain't going to be moving in that sleeve. But now they put it in a holder where it doesn't slide around.
You know, another thing on that note, before I move away from the whole slabbing thing, going to CGC, that's one thing I've never understood. Like, they had a good thing going. If you remember, one of the things that I missed out on, unfortunately, was when they did the Todd McFarlane signing with the yellow label. Dude, they had a great system with that yellow and blue label, right? Because a lot of people, what did they want to, well, initially, you know, Pokemon aside and other non-sports or TCGs, but just referring to Marvel, the reason Marvel people were sending any other stuff to CGC was to match their comics, right?
Oh,
Because you
yeah.
have a little miniature copy of it. So why would they f that whole thing up? I don't understand that, man. Like,
they don't give a shit about us. They don't give a shit about that. It's so small. If you think about it, the most dominant and biggest collective market right now is TCG and sports cards. Yeah. And it's going to be, that's just what it is. Marvel is very small, completely just a little tiny thing compared to all that. Because, like, let's give an example. PSA grades millions and millions of cards.
Yeah.
There's at least 1 million Charizards that are over there. I mean, there's at least 1 million, Kobe's and Michael Jordan cards or Luka's, modern sports cards. But that's why they just didn't care. If it was a dominant market, as those are, I could probably see them actually, they probably would have kept that because they would have saw an influx of an increase in more people grading. But yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
I hated it. I actually like the black label now, the black and white label now.
Yeah.
Because it matches Venom, Black Suits, Spidey. I like it now because of that. But if you look at my early Instagram, I was matching comic books with those cards, doing the blue labels and stuff. So
yeah. I'm still holding on to only like 1 or 2 of them because I do feel like maybe in the future they'll have some value or more collectability because they are so few of them, especially when they did the whole thing where if you send in the 9.5, they would give you the 10. Yeah. So I would imagine that there's very few blue label 9.5s out there now.
I still kept. How many do I still have? I have at least 10, I think, still left.
Yeah.
That's some I did send it. Some I did send in, but it's because it's a Venom card. So like
in the color match.
Yeah, I wanted a color match, but I have like an ASM 300 from Beginnings one matched up my comic. I have an ASM 51 to match my comic. I have a San Diego Comic-Con ASM 252 one to match my comic book. I have a bunch of them that are still in the blue label. I just, and I some of them look really good, so I'm not going to change it. I'm going to keep the card anyways.
Nice. And moving from the slabs, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that book. We shouted you out on that book you picked up. That Spider-Man Todd McFarlane was like a Diamond Select.
Diamond Distributors. Yeah,
Diamond. Dude, what's up with that, man? I never knew about. That's such a good-looking book because I was talking to Manu about that in that episode. Like, I've personally never been a fan of that image because we have that image in, like, I think Comic Images, one of those sets from Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of it, but the way that was executed on the book, to me, it almost looks like it's a different image, just because of how well it goes.
Yeah, it's blown up. It's blown up on the book, and I love the red. I love it all being all red, and then, the cool like blood dripping Todd McFarlane looking font and stuff. No, it's a dope book, man. But
do you have that in hand?
No, I traded it.
What?
I did. I traded it. I had to get another one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So I traded it for 2 pieces that I didn't think I would ever have in my collection. Uh-huh. So I had to use it as trade bait, but hopefully I'll get another one. That one was sealed that I had, which hurts me because it's tough to find them in good condition sealed like that because the wrap is so tight. It actually messes the book up. And that one wasn't messed up at all. So yeah, I can't say I regret it, but I had to let that one go.
It sounds like it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It sounds like you.
Well, I handed it to the person. They took it, and I had my hand still on it. I'm like, no. And I'm like, okay, there'll be another time. I know where it's at, so I can always do another deal with the person. Yeah.
Yeah, and based on your experience with the whole pressing and cleaning, what did that look like that would grade out, in your opinion, when you saw it in hand?
I would say at least a 9.4. I would say at least a 9.4. Okay. Yeah, there's some back of it. There is a little bit of some edge wear thing, but other than that, the spine's clean. There's no ticks, none of that stuff. So the front was immaculate. The front was perfect.
Gotcha. Now going into that, and I'll let you divide this between books and cards. But if your house was burning and you could only grab 3 cards, that's it, man. For whatever reason, it's only 3 cards and 3 books. What are those 3 cards and 3 books you're gonna grab?
Okay, probably the ASM 50 is gonna be one.
Okay.
I would say the ASM 50. If it's in my collection right now, it'll probably be the ASM 50. It'll probably be the 2 McFarlane autos that I have, because one of them I got from a new, and then one of them is just, it's an awesome book. So I would probably take those 3. Cards though, I'd probably take these 3. I'm gonna grab them out.
Yeah, grab them.
I'm a sucker for autos, so I would probably take that one. My McFarlane auto, an ASM 316 image.
Oh, nice. Yes.
And then I'd probably do my, hey, it's the one that you had.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice one, man.
Yeah.
And I like the way that you just, and I'm assuming that was you, right? You authenticated it with PSA?
Yeah, I set it in.
Yeah.
And it's a new holder too. It's a new holder.
Yeah, that's a smooth move, man, because I think that's the way to go for a lot of cards that if you know, because my OCD wouldn't let me do a 7 or an 8. I think that's the perfect way of handling. So good. Props to you on that, man.
I thought this card would probably 8, but I didn't want 8 on there. I just wanted to disgrade the auto, and then I got this one too.
Oh, nice. One of the holograms, the Wolverine.
Yeah, 90 hologram auto by Jim Lee. I set that one in. I'm pissed off I got an 8.5 though, but
yeah. And again, how do you feel? I mean, we already went past that, but again, going back to that yellow label, I do feel like the older yellow label looked nicer on those slabs, personally.
Yeah, I mean, well, you got black, right? So you got the black one, the black and yellow, and then this one. So yeah. It's all about preference and stuff, but to be honest with you, I mean, it just depends. If the card had black on it, I guess I would probably go with this one, but this one was still clean. And this one, I think, has the McFarlane scroll on it too. So like, there's a McFarlane little scroll right there.
Yeah, that's
and on the back too. You got this. It says, it says Todd McFarlane on the back of it. So
that's awesome, man, dude. And you know what hurts me is that I forget the collector's name. He's never answered my DM, so I'm not even going to shout him out anyway. but he owns that 2015 Fleer Retro Venom that I have, and a CGC 9.5 yellow label with the Todd McFarlane signature on it. That it's crazy the way that looks. To your point, every time I look at it, I have it on my photo on my photos just as my favorites. Yeah, dude. And I look at it and I just pretend it's mine. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that
little scroll, little scroll that you're talking about just sets it off, man. It's crazy.
It adds to it. I love that, the Todd McFarlane. I'm a huge McFarlane fan, so like that. I know. I had this card. Let me see if I can pull it out. I had this card in the yellow label in the 9.5. I had this signed by Todd. I sent it in, and it had the full Todd right below Venom, like right here, and it looks so good in white. It was a white paint, and it looks so good. And I don't know, for some reason I'm like, oh, maybe he'll come back again, which I think he will. But I traded it for an ASM 300, like a 9. I think it was like a 9.0 or something comic book.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I just wanted another copy of ASM 300, but like now I regret it. I regret that trade. I should have done it, but hopefully he comes back and I can send some more cards because I got plenty.
Yeah, because back to the point where you're saying that's where you kind of slip from your own logic, because it was a lot easier to get another ASM 9.0.
It is
ASM 300, right? Than to get that replaced.
And that was like, I think what was that? That was like over a year ago, I think. So yeah, I definitely learned. You just learn from your these lessons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, man, I'm gonna bring something back and I'm glad you're the first to do it. I hadn't asked this question in a minute. It's been like at least a year. But for those who have been, supporting my channel for a minute, will probably remember this question. If you were to design your own Marvel Masterpiece set, walk me through that process. What inserts would you put in there? What artist? Would you take the 1995 approach, which is multiple artists in the set, one single artist? Like, walk me through that. You're at Upper Deck. You got full creative control. You call all the shots. Let me know what you're putting in there, man.
I would probably do 2 artists. I wouldn't do one. I would do 2. And the first one, the first artist gets half the set, and you can even handpick let's say if you had Jesco or something or Bianchi, it's like you can just have them kind of hand pick what characters they kind of, direly want. But you can almost do like a draft for them. They can just draft whatever characters they want to do and then just let them go. Give them creative freedom over these. And they probably come up with some crazy stuff rather than just upper deck approving everything. I would just let it go. I would let them do what they want to do to those cards, the designs, everything. And then obviously you review them and stuff and send them and make them go into production. But and I would also have the artists have sketch. I want sketches from them. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's great to get sketch from the other artists, but like throw in more. If Jusco's doing the set, have him do like 20 sketches. I would love an actual real sketch done by him or by another artist. I mean, I don't know how many in the Marvel Masterpiece sets that I've seen, the new modern ones, but I feel like you rarely see the actual artist of those sets do a sketch card because that's original art from them. Why not? That'd be so cool to do that. And they could even do a rendition of one of the cards. That'd be kind of cool too, like a different rendition or something. But
so what are the two artists? What are the two artists you pick?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I would say I would love for Hildebrandt to come back. I know it's just Greg, but I would love for Hildebrandt and Jusco do them because that would be my set. I love 1994 and I love 1992. I like 2016 as well, but those are my guys. Like those two right there. If I can get that set, that's just pure nostalgia for me.
Yeah. Now going to more specifics, right? Like, would you want it to be more limited? Like, how, for example, in 2016 and all the new modern masterpieces, they're hard number either to like $14.99 or $19.99, whatever the number is. Would you go that high on the base, or would you, make that a little bit lower? And how many would you have? A bunch of parallels now, like Platinum does, or are you sticking to like only a 3, for example, like Rittenhouse did it? Diamonds, rubies, and emeralds versus like now you got a bunch of parallels.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the parallels or the numbering. Like you have like a script that goes like across the card and it's like orange and it's purple and stuff like that. It's like you're just adding literally the smallest ounce of color. I would do something else. I would have like a canvas version of that card or something like that. And I would number it to like 999. I would go as high as that and that's it. I would keep it in the 9s and I would do the on-card autos and stuff out of 10. A 1 of 1, I'd be fine with that. But like my 1 of 1s would be gold. They have like a gold border all the way around it and stuff. Not distracting from your from your art, but I would do something like that. But I love canvas. I love the canvas cards. Those are like my favorite. And especially if you get them on autograph, like they look so good.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. The other thing I was going to ask you, man, is moving forward now with the hobby, what would you like to see as far as changes in the hobby for Marvel? Like, besides, obviously, we know that organically over time, more and more people are going to jump into the hobby. But what is some changes that you would like to see?
That's a good question. That's also a tough question because, I'm like, there's obviously a lot of, a bunch of channels out right now where everyone's kind of like opening up new product and new product and new product. I feel like, and this is just my honest opinion, based off of how I engage in the hobby, is like, I'm not the biggest fan of like all these case breaks and then excessively doing them and then everyone's doing them. And then I'm just like, I'm bored. It's just the same cards over and over again. If you pull a great card, that's fantastic. But like my heart is in the 90s and I absolutely love ripping that type of stuff. Like I bought 34 packs of the 89 McFarlane set. I ripped all those. I didn't rip them on nobody's channel or nothing. I just ripped them on myself just to enjoy and examine. And I had the best time. I loved it. Yeah. Like that stuff right there. But like, because those, you don't see them all the time. You don't see 89 McFarlane packs all the time. Those are, so, and I just bought another 29 packs of, the 90 Wolverine Series 1 set. I just bought those. And
Jim Lee, the comic images?
It's the from then till now.
Oh yeah, that's a dope set.
Series 1. Series 2 is my favorite because when I was a kid, that was the very first packs of cards I've ever opened for Marvel. So, but yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it. Like, it's great to watch people open and stuff, but it's like, it's excessive. And like, for me, the excess, it's just like, I don't know. It's just like after like, 3-4 hour streams and everyone just opened up this product and stuff. I don't know, and then they go into drafts and they pay all this money to get on there. But then some people don't get, good hits, you're not guaranteed. It's just gambling. Right.
Yeah.
But, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I watch some of it, but I can only engage with that for so long. I like the interviews and stuff like that. Shout out to Last Pack Magic. I like Graydon's channel. Like he's interviewing people, collectors. Shout out to you as well. I mean, you're interviewing collectors and stuff. I love this type of stuff. It's getting to know what people collect. In learning our side quests, like what we're doing, and it's for me. It's like I like that aspect, but it's because like I'm kind of like that. I like to search for things and do a journey. Like I told Manu the other day, I was like, man, if I ever start a YouTube channel, I'd probably just record myself searching eBay, like just finding some cool treasures and stuff on eBay, or just criticizing the shit out of the listings and stuff and the prices and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, go down, scroll down, and be like, how much is that? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's cool. Well, that's cool. I like that. Doing stuff like that, I think will be fun. But like, because I enjoy it. I'm on, I'm just, if you look at my screen time, eBay is like is the most dominant.
100%.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I have fun with that. I like to like search for stuff. I like to watch, like if friends are, going through, like most of my conversations with Manu, we're always on eBay together.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're messaging the same person to get the same card or something. To see
dude.
It's awesome.
No, it's true, man. It's true, man. I wanted to touch on a couple points you made. Like the first one about everybody opening the same product. It's dope for, like you mentioned, when a brand new product, when it just released, it's awesome because I get to see like all the art from all the different cards. But then, like you said, up to a point, once I saw all the artwork, once I saw all the hits get pulled, or the majority of the hits, I'm good. I don't need to see more. I think the biggest downside to that is the fact that the attention just goes all into the modern product and whatever the newest thing is. People have like a short-term memory. They don't go back and appreciate older sets. They're just like, oh, and again, I think that speaks volumes into how much of our base is collectors versus how many people just flip and sell mostly, right?
Yeah.
The other thing you mentioned was about, I had that idea a while back as well, and I was discussing with Sergio and Doom, and I've already, in general, just who I am naturally, and how maybe because I'm too direct, I've already burned bridges, as some people would say. But like, I would love to do steals of the day for sure, right? Going back to like eBay, but also like fleeces. Like, this guy got fleeced. You know what I mean? Like I'll be honest. What was the one that recently was like everybody was talking about, that Wolverine hologram in a PSA 10? Look at the back of that Wolverine; it's off-centered as shit. Like I think you can see some imperfections in the hologram. That's not a 10, and the guy paid what, 8K or 7K? I don't know what the hell he paid.
Well, that one sold for a lot, and then so did the what is it, the Goblin Spidey one, but that one still wasn't the best centering either. But
that's my point. Like, that's crazy.
It is crazy, but there's definitely I've noticed this, and I'm not trying to sidetrack our conversation right now, but I've noticed this lately, is that the grading companies, and I've just seen this from grades and things that I've gotten back, or I've seen somebody else get back, is that a lot of people are grading companies are thinking about turnaround times. They want quick turnaround times, right? They're driving that. So if you go on social media, Instagram, the videos from like PSA, SGC, they'll do some interviews and stuff. And they're like, oh, our turnaround time. We're back at this. We are announcing turnaround time. And I'm starting to see some hiccups in quality, their quality, assurance, their QAs, from grading all the way down to like them encapsulating your damn card. The last order I got back from PSA, they swapped labels from 2 of my cards. And I had to catch it on Q&A, call them up and say, hey, don't ship my cards out. You need to fix that. And then you can ship it back out to me. But I'm not the only one that's happened to. So like, they're just speeding through. And the guy apologized, PSA apologized and was like, yeah, man, we're just like, we're cooking. We're burning through stuff. And I'm like, see what happens when you're just going through millions of cards? It's like, it's almost like they're automatic. It's like someone puts a card in front of you and it's like, okay, done. There's so many. Like, how many graders do they probably have that have to go through each and every day just looking at cards, Mm-hmm. You're going to miss. Miss something. And they do. I've been noticing it lately. SGC, the same thing. I just bought a card from somebody on eBay, and I'm looking at it. It says a 9.5, and I'm like, it is scratched up to shit. And I'm like, you couldn't see it on the picture because it's just a scan. I was pissed when I got it. I was like, what is this? Isn't a 9.5. Like, it's just, I don't know. I've been noticing that recently.
Yeah.
Last couple months, I'm like, they be slipping.
Yeah. To your point, one of the top McFarlane that I got back was that Venom was a PSA 9. I got a 9. There's a piece of plastic inside the slab stuck in the car. So I send them photos already, or through Doom, because he did my first submission, and we're waiting to hear from them. So do you going back to that? Is it easier to get a hold of them through the phone, or is it better just to wait via the email?
You better call them at 7 a.m. because they fill up quick. Their queue is like,
gotcha.
I mean, I literally just call them and I just put my phone down and I just go back to work because I know it's going to take. Damn. Sometimes I've been on the phone with them for 45 to an hour. So I don't want to shout out CGC, but shout out to CGC. Their customer service is literally, you can get on the phone with them like that. They like, if you have any problems with them, like, I've had some issues with them. But if for card grading or comics, dude, you get on the phone with them immediately. As long as they're open, you talk to somebody immediately, tell them your problem. They listen to you. They follow up with you. I mean, I put their customer service above PSA, unfortunately, but PSA, they just have high volume. They have so much shit that's going through them. And it's like, and they probably have tons of people calling about their goddamn cards, So, it is what it is.
That's also the downside of being the one that grades the most amount of cards, But it is funny, to your point about their turnaround times, how during the pandemic, when they had that all of a sudden that halt, right, and grading, their fees were crazy. And now that they sped up, hey, send your cards in now. Because again, let's be honest, I think all hobbies, all like whether it's TCG, sports cards, whatever, a lot of them, like I feel personally that there's a lot of people that left the hobbies, whatever hobbies those were. And I think it was the people that, I was having this conversation recently where I think that a lot of people came in during the pandemic, whether it was for nostalgic reasons or because they were simply just bored at home. Yeah. And now that, that the world resumed, now only the people that are hardcore stayed in here. Most people just dipped. And
that's true. Look at if you go to Instagram, there's people I can count on my hand, both hands, that are just like, there.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah. I actually need to do a cleanse where, like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, this guy hasn't posted since last year. What happened?
No, there's a bunch of people that, like, I noticed on like my post from like over a year ago. I'm like, where the hell's that guy? Or where's that? Like, why? Like, where are these people at? But it's true. I mean, everyone now is kind of normal, back to normal life, taking vacations or spending money on other stuff. They're not spending money on collectibles and stuff. And, it is what it is. But I've always been a collector. I was collecting shit before the pandemic. Yeah. The pandemic, all it did for me is, like, let me focus. Like, I got into, I went down more rabbit holes because I had more time. I was like, shit, I'm going to go down this road. I did Pokemon. I did Pokemon for a while because my daughter, and I used to collect Pokemon cards when I was a kid. I did that from like 2016 all the way. I think I finished up in 2022. I was done. That hobby just got crazy. And it's just like everyone, it didn't seem unique. And they print cards to the goddamn ground, man. It's like, look at the pop reports on all the Charizard. It's like 50,000. You're like, well, what's so unique about that?
That's one thing I always had an issue with, and every I reach out to people that do Pokemon still here and there, like shout out to Melfi, shout out to Swami, Retrospecs, and they all tell me, which surprises me, shocks me honestly, kind of like what you're saying, is that they say that vintage sits longer than modern, even though modern, like you said, the pops are crazy. Like, who's absorbing all these fucking cards?
It's because the product's out there. There's so much. You can go to any store now and find that shit. It's everywhere. Like every store, every LCS next to me, they all have Pokemon cards. Everyone's got shit for sale. They know Pokemon is money. My buddy owns a video game store in my area, and he's got stacked shit of TCG card games, everything. And the people just come in. The modern just sells. People want to play the game and stuff like that. So, that is another aspect of TCG, is that you have a game aspect to it. It ain't just about being collecting. They actually have a trading card game. That's what it's based off of. That's the purpose of it. So you have that aspect as well. And that does bring in probably more people, but I just didn't have it. I couldn't figure out. And like, to me, it was just nostalgia. But then Pokemon kept coming up with more and more Pokemon. I'm like how many times you can turn like a cat into something else? Like it's getting ridiculous. So like my daughter grew up, so I was like, I'm done with Pokemon, but I still enjoy Dragon Ball. I did some Dragon Ball Super cards for a while. I love that. That was probably in 2020 and through 2022. I started, just ripping a bunch of boxes, and they're super cheap. You buy a box for $50, man, you can pull like a secret rare and stuff. And I had fun just ripping it, grading it, collecting the cards. But Marvel, man, to me, it's more than nostalgia and stuff. It's just, it definitely holds a special place in my heart. The Marvel cards do. I just feel like with the characters, like Venom and stuff, like I kind of relate to these type of characters. You have more of like a bond with them than you do a freaking Pikachu or something. So, and even athletes too. I had sports cards. Michael from Cool Cards, he's talking about his Jordan collection. Dude, I sold 500 plus Jordans in 2020. I sold them. I sold a bunch. I had a lot of, I still have some left, but they're mine. They're from my, my personal collection as a kid. But, it's like I like everything that gives me that warm feeling and stuff. I just kept in part of my collection. So
that's dope, man. Yeah, just out of curiosity on those Michael cards, was that a good time to sell, or was that not close to peak yet when you sold?
No, so I only sold my cards when I knew that card ain't worth that. Like I'm like the card, PSA 10 from a 1990 Michael Jordan card, $500. The pop on that's like, now it's probably like 30,000. But yeah, I sold that. I was like, that card is not worth $500. So, and I had a bunch of Kobe rookie cards. They weren't going to be worth that much. They're just base rookies. So I sold a bunch of those too. I mean, a lot of the sports cards I actually sold to buy comic books and stuff. So, and other things. I bought an arcade. I bought a X-Men versus Street Fighter arcade. I was buying arcades and stuff because I was like,
that's dope.
This because it doesn't make any sense. I can buy that card later. And I'll just buy something that's really cool and enjoy. I bought a bunch of arcades in the pandemic, but it's crazy. Like I said, I only sold because the price of that card. Like I had a Charizard PSA 9 Japanese one. I sold that thing for I think it was like $3,000. Mm-hmm. Like that's not worth $3,000. I paid like $80 for that card.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, there was a lot of things that didn't make sense, and that's another thing that shocks me. Same thing with sports. Like I remember with the Luka base, you're talking about Kobe. At least that's Kobe, right? Someone that's not only proven themselves, but unfortunately already passed away. But when you have barely up and comers, and there's 20,000 cards in the pot for a fucking base card, and people are gobbling them up, I don't understand that. And same thing. I dipped my toe a little bit in sports at the beginning, and it didn't make sense to me. So I'll stick to what I understand, and more than anything, I stick to what I am interested in. Instead of trying to follow the crowd, because that's when you get burned. Sometimes you buy things just because you see everybody else jumping on that, and then you find out you're too late.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so if you buy it like a modern sports card box, a hobby box, like what's the chances of you getting something that's going to be worth super high value?
Yeah.
You're going to pull an auto and stuff, and then most of the autos are just sticker autos. But like if you're going to pull a rookie card, okay, you're guaranteed 3 rookies in this box, but you got to pull an actual rookie, like somebody that's going to have some significant value. So it's like it's all that stuff is gambling. And this coming back to modern Marvel, it's great. The artwork's fantastic, but it's just gambling.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like gambling. Sorry. If I have $200, I'm going to buy a PSA 10 of a card that I really, really want and love and put in my collection. That's low pop. So, if I had a choice, 100%. I mean, it's fun to rip stuff, but I don't see it. I need, for me, my analytical mind, I need some value in that. Either it be, passionate type value for me, for myself, for my enjoyment, or there's got to be some type of monetary value in that card as well. So, and I have to look at that at all ends. So, I just feel like the gambling piece, that's not who I am. Can't do it.
100%.
I'm not saying I've never done the gambling thing. I went pretty hard in Spider-Man Metal. So I learned my goddamn lesson.
but also, hey, if I'm going to gamble, I'd rather go play poker at the casino. I'm going to enjoy that much more. You know what I mean? Personally, than ripping packs and hoping that I hit. Yeah. I'd rather have at least, a small percentage where I feel like, hey, there's some skill involved versus it's all luck.
Yeah, it is all luck. And you're sitting there, watch a screen and hopefully you pull something lucky. But like I said, I enjoy the artwork. I enjoy the artists. I like the engagement with artists and stuff, and it's great. And and even getting sketches or commissions. I gotta, shout out to Tony Perna Studios. He did a piece for me of Venom. It's a homage to what's it called? ASM 375. But instead it has Venom versus Wolverine. It's like my two favorite characters, one when I was a child, and then one as I love now. And he did such a fantastic job. I love his artwork because it looks like something from the comic books. I love that. And now it's mine. It's my PC. I'm going to keep it. And then, if my son wants it, he can, I'll give it to him. But I like that type of stuff. That stuff is great. Engaging with those artists and stuff. So, I can't knock on all modern stuff. I'm not doing that, but I just don't like the idea of 50 of these, 1,000 case breaks and stuff like that. It's like, it's excessive.
It is. No, it is. Ryan, man, I appreciate your time, man. I'm glad we got to do this, and hopefully we could do something in the future where it could be me, you, and Manu, and maybe someone else, and get into more on the comic side. Because I'm newer to the comics, and I'm definitely interested. Even though personally I'm leaning more towards foreigns, just because, like you said, I'm analytical myself, and I can't digest even the pops on the American side of stuff. So I'm like, I'll stick to my native country, and the pops are nothing comparable to what it is on the US side. And on some of these covers, it just honestly, some do look better in foreigns.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Italian ASM 300. I mean, I have, I look that look to me that book looks way better in the Italian than it does the original ASM 300. So, it's I like a lot of the foreigns. I have I have probably at least 30 foreign books. Some Italian. I have I have a bunch of different versions of ASM 316. I mean, when you open them up, they are a little bit different, but the art's pretty much the same. The only thing I don't like about foreign books, I'm not gonna say anything really negative, is that I can't read them.
Yeah. But let's be honest, going back to what everybody's doing, even with that Italian slab, you're not going to be reading that anytime soon.
No. If you want to, they're very hard to get in the in the high grade. Yeah. Because we know, the foreign countries, they just, they didn't really take good care of their books. Collectibles wasn't on their priority, right?
100%. Surviving was.
Surviving, right? So they didn't. That's these things survived. To get a book to come across the sea, I love that. The foreign book aspect, getting a book from Italy. I've had a bunch of them come from Italy, ship over the seas, and I'm like, this is so cool. I love the journey of that type of collectible. So, yeah, I mean, I don't blame you, man. Foreigners are dope. I like them.
Yeah, I'm having fun right now with them, man. So, it's the same thing as you. As long as we're having fun and enjoying it, I'm sticking to it. The moment I get bored or something goes wrong, then I may pursue something else, but that's where my focus is currently. And just like yourself, I'm still chasing certain cards, but I'm more on the card side. I'm taking the approach of, look, if it's going to come to me, then it's going to come to me at this point, because some of the cards that I'm looking for aren't popping up on eBay anytime soon, so I'm still, just trying to collect trade bait, as yourself, and hopefully using that as leverage to acquire what I'm still missing. But sometimes that doesn't even work. So we'll see. You know what I mean?
If whoever has the card, or whatever you're trying to get. Sometimes you have enough and sometimes you don't. And it's just, let fate happen. Let something happen organically. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, man, if you want to plug in your IG or anything you want to plug in, shout it out, man. Where can people follow you if they want to get a hold of you? Maybe your eBay store if they want to buy something that some of the stuff you're grading yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much obviously on IG as RMS Collects, and then if you go to my profile and everything, I do have a link there for my eBay store.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you again, man. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah,
we'll talk soon.
Yep.
Thank you.